Hello, everyone. Welcome to Developing Palates. I am Aaron Loomis, and with me, as always, is Jiunn Liu. How you doing, Jiunn?
Doing good.
So today we are talking about the Fratello Oro Robusto. Cigar is 5-inch by 50 ring gauge, comes out of the La Aurora factory in the Dominican Republic. Wrapper is Ecuadorian, Connecticut. Binder is Cameroon. Filler is from the Dominican Republic and Nicaragua. Cigar is blended by Omar de Frias. Price point is $8.25. And the cigar was released in November of 2016. So with that out of the way, June, what was your pre-light experience like?
It was good. I thought the uh, the cigar wrapper had a golden claro shade. Uh, Good amount of oil content on the wrapper, so just overall look, very attractive. Cigar feels slightly lumpy with some minor divots and semi-pressed veins to it. Head finished off with a deep triple cap. Smelling the wrapper, I got faint barnyard and hay. Smelling the foot, white pepper, cedar, mixed nuts. Cold draw gave me light dry wood, mixed dried nuts, and a moderate white pepper spice coming through.
Yeah, wrapper was a very light golden brown, a few visible raised veins. Seams were smooth, but easily visible, kind of due to the vein lines. Head appears to be finished off with a double cap. Two bands, primary band being the traditional Fratello band, but in gold, and the secondary band is a foot band. Also has that gold and designates the Oro line. Aroma from the wrapper was a mix of sweet hay and leather. Foot provided a mix of sweet tobacco and leather. And the pre-light draw was a bit of a dusty leather. And I get that every once in a while. It's not necessarily not necessarily like a grittiness, but it just like you kind of get like a dusty note in there. I'm not sure. It's hard to describe, but something I've had here and there. So getting the flavor, what was your experience like?
Um, First third, extraordinary amount of sweetened cream. In addition to that sweet cream, subtleties in soft dry wood, black pepper, ripened stone fruits. Retrohaling increased black pepper, but it wasn't overbearing by any means. Sharper cedar and mixed dry nuts. Finish gave me a lingering soft dry wood and palate layering black pepper. Strength and body within the entire cigar at the medium mark. Moving on to the second third flavors, it's pretty much the same as the first third. Black pepper ever so slightly increases, but aside from that, still a profile that's heavily focused on that sweetened cream and those delicate notes of soft dry wood and ripened stone fruits. The finish continues to have that lingering soft dry wood and a slight increase in black pepper. Moving on to the last third, it really changed within the last third. Perhaps it's a function of its youth. So starting right around the start of that last third, profile all of a sudden really becomes noticeably bitter, and the cigar starts to heat up. I can still taste those other notes, but it has this like overlaying, like a charred bitterness to the entire profile. My favorite part of this third is probably the retrohale because it's still, same as the first two thirds, being full of deeper black pepper, sharper cedar, and mixed nuts. The bitter note also shows up on that finish, in addition to the dry wood and black pepper. So all in all, a more of a traditional Connecticut shade cigar for me.
Yeah, initial draws brought a light charred wood with a little bit of baking spice, and then after a few draws, that char went away as some cream kind of joined in, which mellowed out that baking spice. Retrohale was very smooth, slight bready note, 3/4 of an inch in. Profile was very smooth, slightly creamy wood note. At 1.25 inches, a slight nuttiness joined in with that creamy wood. And as the third came to a close, a slight char return, which kind of pushed that nuttiness out. And strength in the first third was just like kind of the mild medium mark. Gaining the second third, lightly charred wood, slight creaminess kind of continue, while there's just a little bit of nuttiness present in the background. 1/4 inch in, toasty note kind of replaces the char and the nuttiness, while the wood and the cream continue on. And then at 3/4 of an inch in, that toast note becomes even fuller, kind of pushing that wood and the cream to the background. Retrohale also kind of carry that toast note with a little bit of pepper punch and a slight bit of creaminess. As the third was coming to a close, that toast note left and the wood really came up front with a slight bitterness and no cream at all. And strength in the second third was just slightly below medium. And then getting in the final third, Full woodiness with wood bitterness kind of continued on. Half an inch in, a little bit of char return, which kind of cut the bitterness way down. Retrohale carried a slightly charred wood note as well. At an inch in a slight mintiness joined with that charred wood. And as the cigar came to a close, that mintiness faded away, and that slight charred wood is what remained. And the cigar finished out right at the medium level for strength. So getting into performance for burn and draw, what was your experience like?
So I smoked two cigars, two samples out of this round of reviews, and both performed the same way. So starting with the burn, I thought it was average. For a couple of reasons, I had to do two touch-ups, and the hotter burn, and the burn got hotter within the last third. The footband had just an excess amount of glue on both samples I smoked. So that caused an immediate rip, and I had to touch it up within the first third. Further, the last third on both samples required a little bit of a minor touch-up. Aside from that, I just held on tight, averaging inch and a half solid increments. Because of the draw, it was perfect. Just enough of that tightness and airflow to get all the flavors in.
Yeah, burn line for me was just slightly wavy, but the ash was a little bit flaky at times, but it wasn't too much of a problem. I thought I thought the burn was very good overall. Ash held on inch and a half increments, so that was really good. I thought it was really very good. In regards to the draw, just like you said, perfect. Just the right amount of resistance that I prefer. Able to pull through all the flavors. Didn't have to pay any attention to it at all. So overall, what were your thoughts on the cigar?
I thought, the thing that stuck most for me is just that sweet cream, and it had a just like ridiculous amount of that. I thought it was a great example of a full flavor cigar and medium strength for the first 2/3 anyways. I thought the cigar, it was just really tasty. It's one of those cigars I could just sit within a given day and I could just smoke a lot of and back to back to back. And, it's not the kind that'll make my palate fatigue and I'll just enjoy every moment of it. I think that bitterness that I tasted in the last third, I think usually that kind of stuff will work itself out when you give it some more proper humidor time. So hopefully, it'll cure that. But this is another Connecticut shade that I definitely will put in my rotation now.
Yeah, cigar started out kind of the very traditional Connecticut profile with the wood and the cream, and as the cigar progressed, it got a little bit darker and with some char notes to it. As I mentioned when reviewing the Toro, it was refreshing to get back to a little bit more of a traditional Connecticut because lately there's been a lot more of this amped up strength, amped up flavor kind of non-traditional Connecticut. So when you kind of get the traditional one back in and you get a good one, it's really nice to kind of get back to some of those memories that you have of smoking really good traditional Connecticut's. If you're looking for an old school Connecticut that isn't grassy, kind of keeps a medium and below strength level, this might be exactly what you're looking for. This is definitely a cigar I would revisit. I believe that I scored the Toro a little bit better when we reviewed that. So it's just a little bit more of I think a longer experience, and I just think I just had a little bit more consistency with that one. But this was still a very good offering. So more of it just maybe just a time difference in regards to the difference between the Vitolas. I think they smoke fairly similar between them. But in regards to the score, I gave it a 6.87. You gave it a 6.60. How do you think that matches up with your experience?
Match well. I mean, the most important factor of that score is I thought the flavor profile was good. I mean, the burn wasn't that great, but it's nothing that should deter you from buying the cigar and trying it.
Right. Yeah, and mine matches up as well. I mean, we scored it identically except for the burn. I just had a better burn than you did. Otherwise, every other category we scored it the same. So our scores are pretty much matching up on this one. So one we kind of have our palates agreeing on. So I think this is a fantastic cigar. For some reason, this Robusto just looks smaller to me than a standard Robusto, and I don't know if it's just because I remember how big that Toro looked. Between the two of these, but or maybe it's the gold. I don't know what it is, but there's something about it that makes this look smaller than a regular. I almost want to. When I look at it, I'm like, this looks like a 4.5 by 50 or something. Like that. It just seemed a little bit smaller for some reason, but it's measured in 5 inches. So
It looks more like a Rothschild. When I first picked
Yeah,
it up, I thought the Rothschild size.
exactly. Any other final thoughts from you on this cigar?
I actually like this one way more than the other cigar, the
Toro.
Toro that we had.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought this one that just had that really deepness of flavor.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, like Connecticut shades, like you usually get creamy hay and stuff going on, but the cream aspect of this cigar was just like off the charts, I thought, which is super tasty.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, this is another good cigar for Fratello and for Omar. I mean, he does a really good job at flavor delivery, without any kind of issues with strength. He really can keep the strength in check when he needs to be able to get the flavors to come out. So, pretty much everything that he's put out so far, I really find that he's very flavor centric. So we've sat down with him before, and he kind of says, like, anytime you just get too much strength and too much pepper, it just drowns out everything. So he's really not he's not into that kind of a style. So I really kind of dig this flavor forward profile that he does. So.
Mhm.
If you're just catching this video on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to us, but also check out the full written review on the website, developingpalates.com. Be sure to follow us on all the social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Google+. You can also catch all of our review recaps on podcasts, so iTunes, Google Play, and Podbean. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next one.